This week on TIAA Bank Jaguars Weekend, it's gut check week in Jacksonville. After a blowout loss in Dallas, the Jaguars are searching for answers.
There's no way anyone in this building should be comfortable.
Up next is a divisional date with the Texans. We're sitting down with Doug Marrone for a preview. Plus,
I just wanted to shed some light with a couple of my teammates and just come make a couple people's day.
We're riding along with Yannick Ngakoue on his day off. All that and more ahead on TIAA Bank Jaguars Weekend.
This is TIAA Bank Jaguars Weekend. TIAA Bank, created to serve, built to perform.
You know, I really have always believed, and I told us to the team, if you come out there and you're not ready to play, that's all on me. No doubt about it. You know, I've got to take a good look at what we do, and I have to do a better job.
The Jaguars have to play, execute, and coach better in order to gain control of the AFC South, and it needs to start this week at home against the Texans. Hello and welcome to TIAA Bank Jaguars Weekend. I'm Ashlyn Sullivan. It's been 2 weeks full of questions after disappointing losses to the Chiefs and the Cowboys. The offense hasn't produced, and Calais Campbell said it best. The defensive performance was embarrassing against Dallas. This week is a chance to wipe the slate clean and get back on the winning track. The Jaguars' defense was left confused after the Cowboys scored 40 points last week against what we all thought was a dominant unit.
Things roll downhill, you know, and right now we lost 2 in a row, so coach isn't happy, so it's going to trickle down all the way to us, and we're going to go out there and have to deal with it and change and make him happy again, and the only way that's going to make him happy is winning. But when you lose twice, something needs to change, and then something changed.
This week, the defense lines up across from a Texans offensive line that gave up 7 sacks last week against Buffalo.
Got a lot of football left to play, you know, a lot of good football left to play. So, you know, you just got to take it one play at a time, one day at a time, and just make sure I'm doing all I can to be the best version of myself today.
Turning turnovers into touchdowns was the Jaguars' identity in 2017. But it hasn't happened this year. The Jaguars are giving the ball away on offense too much.
Forget about all the other stuff, you know what I'm saying, until we get that right. Because if you don't get that right and you stay where you are, you're not going to win.
Talk around the league this week is that the Jaguars are overrated. This team will do all they can to change that narrative.
I'm still riding with my Jags, man. I still feel the same way about this defense, but at the end of the day, you know, something's got to change, and we felt like at the end of the day, we just needed to get back to the fundamentals. We got the guys in the room.
Joined now by Brian Sexton and John Oehser, getting ready for a big AFC South game presented by Hanania. Guys, I don't know how else to ask this. What happened the past 2 weeks? There's talk that this team is overrated.
Well, I think it's over-injured, and I think it's not very good on offense right now, whatever over that is. It's a good defense. It had a bad game last week, but I'm not sure that any team is ready in terms of depth for the injuries this team has had on offense, and it's taken what was supposed to be a complementary offense down a level.
So they've put 2 left tackles on injured reserve, 2 tight ends, and 1 running back. And then the other guy, the big guy, the bell cow of the offense, has barely played this season. So John used the word complementary all week long, and he's right. This offense was complementary to that defense, and this offense has been a shell of itself, which has put more on the defense. I mean, they had a market correction in Dallas. I get it. I expect them to play better this week. The offense, though, I mean, it's flip a coin.
So with that offense and the injuries, how do you fix it? How do you score with this offense?
Brian, you got anything?
No, I was hoping that the camera would be on you to start. You're going to have to throw the ball because you don't have your running game. But how do you throw the ball when you don't have a tight end who can line up on one side or the other to block Watt or Clowney? I mean, that's why you pay your offensive coordinator, you know, a high 6-figure, 7-figure salary. He better figure it out.
Well, first of all, you have to chip, which takes TJ Yeldon out of what he does well in the passing game. And now you've got, I think this is a week where Dante Moncrief, Dede Westbrook, Keelan Cole have to have big games. Blake Bortles has to have a big game. And you say, well, how in the world can you think he might do that after what happened in Dallas? He's had big games at home. He's played well at home. You do believe that the Texans will continue to stack the box to give them some chances. So maybe that's the way out. Maybe some big plays. And you should stay in the game because I don't think the Texans are going to score a lot. So maybe that's your hope.
Brian, you mentioned Watt and Clowney. This Texans defensive line is really, really good. This Jaguars offense might be in for a tough day against them.
Well, not just those guys, but Whitney Mercilus is a pass rusher extraordinaire. He's an outside linebacker, but the way that they deploy him, he'll be like a defensive end there. Bernard McKinney, the inside linebacker, is a very big guy who can get after the quarterback as well. Yeah, the problems are multiple. It's kind of like this Jaguars defense that other teams face. Who you can stop? You can go over to Calais or Malik or Marcel or Dante or Yannick. I mean, they can just come at you from so many different angles. Your offensive line better be money.
Here's your only hope. J.J. Watt is back to being J.J. Watt. Mercilus has started slow, and Clowney's had one good game, but he hasn't been great. If you can get Watt blocked and the other guys are just okay, the Texans secondary is beat up. So maybe that's your ticket.
So guys, you've been on the road the past few weeks. I think it's really important that this team wins in front of their home crowd.
I think if they're playing in Palatka, it'd be important. I mean,
yeah,
you have to win right now.
They have a stadium there?
Yeah, well, if they do and they can win, let's go play them.
It's going to be an advantage. They need every advantage they can have.
All right, there's more to come on TIAA Bank Jaguars Weekend. Stay tuned. We have more for you on TIAA Bank Jaguars Weekend. The Texans have a mobile quarterback and offensive weapons with DeAndre Hopkins and Will Fuller. Jeff Logman is in the film room with the head coach for a game preview. Plus, we're back in the locker room with Jaguars FAQ. Which coach drives a Harley Davidson?
Oh, that's Wash. That's my fault.
But first, it's time for Know Your Jags, presented by Fields Automotive Group. For some Jaguars, their first job was a professional football player.
What was your first job?
My first job was being a waiter at Sebi's Bistro, a Polish restaurant in Seattle. It was great. Nastrovia. It's a word they say.
First job, I worked at a car dealership, Eddie Whitney car dealership. I wash cars and pick up trash in the parking lot.
My first job was working at the YMCA with after-school kids.
In high school, refereeing football games on Saturday morning. Pee Wee League, yep.
We just played dodgeball, kickball, all the fun games. I mean, I feel like I'm a big kid, so that was the funnest thing to do and the easiest thing to do, honestly.
I guess you can call that a job, but it was just something that I enjoyed doing, and getting up on Saturdays after Friday night football game with other teammates, and we refereed those games, and it was just exciting.
First job was a beach boy at a canoe place, about 10 minutes from my house on the Little Miami River, and I'd basically, when the people got off the canoes, I would take the canoes and put it back on the bus and get them all loaded up. And that was my first summer job.
Oh, it's crazy. Growing up, I never had a job. Like, I ain't never worked. I ain't never have, like, you know what I'm saying, a job I had to be at every day. My job was to go to practice and to come home and do my chores. And you better have them chores done by the time my mama pulls back up. Or you don't want to, we ain't going to get in on it.
Jaguars Weekend is presented in part by TIAA Bank, created to serve, built to perform, and Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Visit geico.com to see how much you could save.
It's kind of correlated to whereas if we haven't started fast, we haven't started at all. And, you know, we definitely got to fix that and make sure that that's not who we are as an offense. If we get off to a slow start to turn it around, but our goal is to definitely always start fast and go score on that first possession.
The Jaguars' offense is ranked 29th in the league in points scored. That won't get any easier this week against one of the most talented defensive lines in the league. Welcome back to TIAA Bank Jaguars Weekend. I'm Ashlyn Sullivan. The Houston Texans will travel to Jacksonville on a hot streak. They've won 3 straight games. It's a dominant defensive line and an offense that is averaging 23 points a game. However, their offensive line has trouble protecting Deshaun Watson. They've given up 15 sacks the past 3 weeks. If the Jaguars win this week, they'll be in the driver's seat in the AFC South. Jeff Logman has an inside look at what we can expect from the Texans with head coach Doug Marrone.
Doug, you guys have a tremendous challenge this week with the Houston Texans coming into town, and it looks like their defense is starting to come into their own with some very talented players.
Well, they are. I think, you know, obviously with J.J. Watt coming back, playing the way he's playing, back to form, you know, defensive MVP form, leading the league with 7 sacks, and Clowney, those two players specifically can really just take over a game. Plus they're coming in with a veteran secondary and two good linebackers.
Well, I think Romeo Crennel does a really good job too with Clowney in that. Where is he going to wind up? One of these guys I think that you probably all week long have been preparing for. You got somebody wearing a 90 on the scout team.
We do. We have all the numbers because of obviously you got to be where 99 is, but 90 he'll line up, you know, like here he's lining up at linebacker and coming through and can give you obviously protection problems. You don't want to match him up with a back or anything of that nature. And then obviously he'll be on the end of the line. He'll also be internally over a guard. So he's someone that you definitely have to have your antenna up for.
And here he is in a pass rush game, and he's working a three-man game. And I think one guy that probably doesn't get talked about enough is Benardrick McKinney, the linebacker, who's coming around on this three-man game.
He's played well. He really has, you know. And then their other linebacker, who's in his second year, the rookie from Vanderbilt's really playing well too. But right here, you can just see how, you know, Clowney can come in and he got a really good inside move, whether it's a rip or a swim. He creates penetration. And obviously, the center here gets picked. And obviously they come free here on the quarterback.
I've said before, and tell me if you agree or not, that Clowney is one of the top 5 most disruptive players on defense in the National Football
League. I agree because of both run and pass. I mean, he probably doesn't get as much credit as what the disruption he does in the run game. Everyone can see the pass game, but he disrupts the run game as well.
And combine that with J.J. Watt back to 7 sacks. I mean, it's a tough situation. In the back end, a veteran group. Jonathan Joseph, Kareem Jackson, Tyrone Matthew is now with them. I mean, they're a good group, an aggressive group.
They are an aggressive group, and I think, you know, when you have a bunch of veterans out there, even though skills may be, you know, arguably maybe declining, maybe not, there's a lot of things that they can do where their experience takes over, and you can see right here, you know, they're trying to confuse the quarterback and they're coming down. Obviously, these players read routes very well. They've been in the league for a long time. He reads the route, he jumps the route, knows he has help behind him, and it goes with a pick 6.
But big challenge for you guys in this ballgame this weekend.
Big challenge, yes it is. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jeff. It's time for Jaguars FAQ. You're about to find out which Jaguars coordinator drives a Harley Davidson to work. Calais Campbell, are you ready to play the Jaguars trivia game that is sweeping the nation, Jaguars FAQ?
Let's roll.
Let's do it for the 3rd time.
I am.
Which coach drives a Harley Davidson?
Oh, Coach Wash.
Oh, that's Wash. That's one point.
Todd Wash.
Which pair of coaches won a Super Bowl ring as players?
Oh, wow. Keenan McCardell.
Which pair of coaches? I want to say Doug Marrone.
Who else won the ring as a player?
Middleton.
Big Angry.
McCardell.
There you go.
Oh, that's right.
Which coach won a college football national championship as a coach?
College. My coach. What's his name? Hobby.
I'm gonna have to go with Coach Hobby. Yeah. I mean, that's easy one right there.
Which coach's father was the offensive coordinator for 3 NFL teams?
Ooh, that's our offensive coordinator, Hackett.
That's a tough one right there. I need to know my coaches better. I should know, but I don't.
Oh, it's Hackett.
Yeah, is it Coach Hackett? Hey, lucky guess.
A+. Well done.
Hold on.
There's more to come on TIAA Bank Jaguars Weekend. Up next, we're with Yannick Ngakoue on his day off and head into the kitchen with Game Day Grub.
Fires deep toward the end zone. Caught by D.D. Westbrook. Into the end zone. Touchdown.
Come on. Come on. Come on. Hey.
D.D. Westbrook making an impact on the Jaguars offense. His touchdown dance is a bright spot on a disappointing day. Catch the full mic'd up feature right now on Jaguars.com. Welcome back to TIAA Bank Jaguars Weekend. I'm Ashlyn Sullivan. Yannick Ngakoue has sacked the quarterback 4 times and is on pace to have an impactful season. We follow Yannick on his one day off. He spent the afternoon with some young fans, going through some tough times. JP Shadrick has more with this Baptist Health feature.
The rigors of an NFL schedule are challenging. Nothing like the challenge children at Wolfson Children's Hospital are facing. The Jaguars and the Tom Coughlin J Fund teamed up for a visit on a recent players' off day. Tommy Bohannon, Leon Jacobs, Tyler Shatley, and Yannick Ngakoue took time to give back and make some special memories.
It's bigger than football. It's about giving back to people that's going through things that, a lot of people's not going through right now. And, I just wanted to shed some light with a couple of my teammates and just come make a couple people's day.
It's cool to see them smile, and it's really just as much for us, just to be able to give back. But I mean, they give us so much. It's just cool to see, how strong these kids are to be able to just be as joyful as they are in the different situations.
It makes you really extremely happy, just knowing that your presence can affect somebody that much, it means a lot.
For Jaguars Weekend, I'm JP Shadman.
Ngakoue and his teammates making plays on and off the field. It's time for Game Day Grub, presented by Tico, People's Gas. Who doesn't love empanadas? You're about to find out how to make them. For the full recipe and information about natural gas and available energy conservation rebates, visit peoplesgas.com/cooking. There's more to come on TIAA Bank Jaguars Weekend. The keys to getting ahead in the AFC South are next.
When you believe in something, you stay steadfast to it. You don't go crazy when something's going crazy. You don't jump ship or start to think it's So again, I just believe in my guys. I believe in my teammates. I believe in the coaches. So I know with what we do, our mindset around here, we'll get it right.
Jaguars linebacker Telvin Smith believes this defensive unit is still one of the best in the league. We're back with Brian Sexton and John Ogier, getting ready for the Houston Texans to come to town, presented by Hanania. We just heard Telvin Smith, who thinks this defense is still one of the best. Should he think that way?
Well, he should think that way, and if he thinks that way, he should say it. He's the leader of this team. His press conference this week was very confident. His words after the Dallas game were very confident. Brian, he's the captain. He's learning how to be the captain, and I think he's doing the right thing in terms of telling the world and telling his teammates, this is good. It's going to be okay. I still believe in this, so you should too.
Well, they're one of the most talented defenses in football, there's no doubt. I have no problem with him standing there, and even though the rest of the locker room was talking about challenges and changing and getting better, I have no problem with him standing there and saying, hey, we're still the best. As long as when he's out on the practice field, he's practicing like, I better change this, I better fix that. You can stand there and beat your chest a little bit as long as you're all working to get better and not standing pat. I will say this, Calais Campbell is the guy that everybody in that locker room seems to look to. Calais looks to Telvin, so I get the role.
After practice this week, we've heard guys say this was a very tough week at practice, even close to training camp.
Yeah, and it should be. If fundamentals are the key, well, of course you go back to camp, because that's the time of the season where you work on fundamentals the most. The players seem to embrace it, John. I mean, a lot of times you get to that point of the year, players don't want that. They just want to work on the reps.
Well, I think they're looking for a reason that what happened last week happened and a way out. And they have the frame of reference for last year in training camp when Doug worked them and it worked and they were ready. So I would think they're not crazy about working that hard during the regular season, but they're thinking, well, this guy got us here last year. Maybe this is what'll get us back this year.
How about Blake Bortles? I feel as though he's gotten lost in the conversation the past 2 weeks because everything else has seemed to have gone wrong, but he still has to play well this week.
Yes, and it's been tough because the offensive line is not blocking well. His receivers, he doesn't have Marquise Lee, he doesn't have Austin Seferian-Jenkins. So I can't sit there and say he's the main reason why this is going on, especially against Dallas, but at some point the quarterback has to lift. That's not what he's been asked to do a whole lot,
no,
but it is right now.
Well, the Kansas City game clearly was a very bad day for him. Not as bad in Dallas.
But not good.
Oh, no, not good. No, not lift,
right.
But now you're asking him to lift down tight ends and receivers and all of that stuff.
What is there to lift?
Against the Texans, right? What do you have to do? Can he run? I mean, can we go to the single wing this week? Maybe. Right? Maybe a little triple option. Whatever it takes. He does have to play better. This is not necessarily the week that he's going to shine, but as long as he doesn't throw pick sixes and make mistakes.
Mm-hmm. So you're in a three-way tie for first place in the AFC South. This Sunday is huge for your season.
Yeah, it is. And I'm not real confident because I haven't seen it the last couple of weeks. The hope is that you get a game that you wanted in Dallas, meaning 19-16 one way or the other, and you figure out a way to squeeze it out.
The defense that scores wins. They're not very good on offense either.
All right, well, let's see if these Jaguars can stay in first place in the AFC South. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week on TIAA Bank Jaguars Weekend.